Richard in Evanston, Illinois, listening on WCPT. Hey, Richard, what's up?
Oh, hi. I'll try to be cogent here if I can. You know, you were just talking about a bunch of stuff, and I wondered how libertarians. Well, the reason I'm calling is that you're talking with that guy earlier.
Right.
He never answered one of your questions, about small government. And you just guys kept going, bouncing back and forth from talking point to talking point. And I wonder if that young man who likes anarchy and small government has ever lived in a condominium or participated in the village or local government. So, because, states are in pretty bad shape, too, and that's smaller than the federal government. So,
yeah. Well, and in fact, this is one of the things that I think a lot of people in the Occupy movement came up against, hard, right in their face, was the fact that all of a sudden, hey, there's 30 of us here. How do we govern ourselves? And the two things that I saw happen with a couple of the Occupy movements that I was fairly close to were either one, an already organized group that was not telling them that it was an already organized group, that was that identified themselves as in one case Maoists and in another case as anarchists, stepped forward and said, well, we'll moderate the conversation. Here's how it should be done. Everybody should have a say, but I'll decide who speaks. And basically, which is a way of taking over. But people didn't realize it had been taken over. That was happening in some of the Occupy groups. And then on the other hand, what you had happening in some of the Occupy groups was they were just kind of disintegrating. And then the third thing that was happening is in some of them there was actually, kind of elections and leadership happening. But then you'd have people saying, wait a minute, leadership, you can't have that. And I watching all this happen, and I remember watching this exact same stuff happen when I was a kid with SDS, although SDS was never intentionally organized as an anarchical group. So the idea of having basically elected leaders was not anathema to SDS. But I've seen groups go through this, and so I suspect that he probably has some familiarity with it.
Well, it's very trendy now amongst the young and a lot of people to be libertarian, but I think a lot of the problems we have right now, the reason I don't think government is working is precisely because people like Rand Paul and small government people have ruined the government.
Yeah.
And it's like the other side of Glass-Steagall. Glass-Steagall worked for 60 years. This is the other side of it. And so we said, well, we don't need Glass-Steagall because, look, banks never go under.
Yeah.
So it was a victim of its own. But the thing is, these people, how is a libertarian going to deal with money and politics? I mean, this is demagoguery that you and I sitting around a dining room table are going to run the world's problems with 7 billion people on it. And most people don't even know what's going on in their own head. So, I mean, these people, it's just very trendy, and it makes us all feel very empowered. And it's demagoguery to think that I'm saying about me, I don't know half of what I think I know. And these guys know even less. And the thing is, the government really can work pretty well when people set their mind to having government work.
Yes. I absolutely agree. And having been, we have a floating home in Portland, and it's basically it's a little moorage, a dock that's out in the river, in the Willamette River, and there's 34 houses on it, and each house is individually owned. Louise and I own one of the houses, and we lived there for 5 years. And the dock is owned by the entire community, so it's a co-op, and the community manages it. And there were anyway when we left, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, there were these two factions among the homeowners. One was, global climate change is happening, and we need to all be taxing ourselves at the rate of maybe $50 a month for the next couple of years, and maybe even float a bond for like $250,000 or $500,000 and upgrade the pilings that anchor us into the river for the next big flood. And then there was another faction within the community that was saying, "Oh, no, we don't have to do that. Everything's fine. This thing, it's been this anchorage, this dock structure has been here for 30 years, and it's not going to go away any day soon. And besides that, we don't want to spend any money." And so I've seen, the internecine warfare and the people going house to house lobbying and sending emails behind each other's backs. And this is a community of 34 people, right? Or families. And like you said, this is the condo. I'm assuming that when you mention condo associations, that you've been in that kind of a situation.
Tom, yeah, I was going to say, look, if people want a libertarian small government, give me an example of where it works at a scale of this country. Is Somalia? I mean, that's as close as you can.
Well, I can't even find where it works at the scale of 34 families.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean, but it's trendy with everybody, and because government has to have a lot of problems. You can lay most of it on the backs of the Rand Pauls and the Republicans of this country.
And their secondary agenda is the Koch brothers and Rand Paul, and they're all singing the same song basically, which is deregulation, get government out of our pockets, get government off our backs. And what they're really saying is that they want to be able to admit as much crap out of their smokestacks and out of their paper factories into the air and into the water as is convenient, so that all the rest of us who share the commons will take their externalized costs and they can internalize their profits. That's really the agenda. And young libertarians who think that they're espousing freedom when they're buying into, and old for that matter, libertarians like Rand Paul and Ron Paul, when they're espousing that, Charles Koch Foundation, now known as the Cato Institute, the line, that's really the line, in my opinion, that's the line that is being espoused.
Well, Ron Paul can't even get his toilet to work. I mean, what kind of a fool is that? And then he denigrates the woman who's running the EPA. I have never in my life seen anything as appalling as that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about Ron Paul's toilet. What are you talking about?
Well, he was talking to the head of the EPA, saying, "You guys," and blaming her that when we went over to the 1.6 gallon toilets, that they didn't work. Well, guess who made the 1.6 gallon tanks? The large companies made them. The government didn't tell them how to make them. They did say that they had to start reducing the number of gallons per minute, which makes all the sense in the world. But I just saw this last night on the air. He was denigrating this woman because his toilet wouldn't work. And this is libertarianism. This is the true side of it. So as I say, when I hear these trendy people, and he didn't answer any of your questions. You tried to ask him and pin him down on something, and he just went on. And usually you do a really good job with him. Him you couldn't corral.
Well, I wasn't trying to do a takedown interview with Cody. I think that the flip side of this is drones and Bush's wars and Aaron Schwartz committing suicide because of hyper prosecution.
Well, the mistakes happen, but as I say, where's an example of some other way? What a libertarian would just say, we don't like this guy, or a condo board. I'm the subject of it in my own condo board. They don't like me, but they'll let other people do exactly what they complain I do, which is minimal stuff. That's like, and it's just about power and problems with the human nature. Yeah, I get it, Richard, and so we've both been there on the condo. In fact, I was on the board of our homeowners association for 2 years. It's you get how, and then talk about being the object of a lobbying. I'd never understood politics until I was on the board of a homeowners association with 34 homes. It's incredible. Richard, thank you for the call.